Superman, actually.
You just have to decide what kind of man you want to grow up to be, Clark. Whoever that man is, he's going to change the world.
That if the world found out who I really was, they'd reject me. He was convinced that the world wasn't ready. What do you think?
Now, I don't know about you, but I have been excited for Man of Steel ever since I found out who was directing it, Zack Snyder. Because guess what? Whether you like him or not, Zack Snyder directs really good action scenes. Examples: Watchmen, 300, I don't necessarily like 300, but I will say that movie was well directed. And let me tell you, Zack Snyder is at one of his best in this movie because, I just love the directing in this movie and how there's really no slow motion like there normally is with Zack Snyder films. And everything just looks beautiful in the fight scenes. Like I said in the intro, Superman actually punches something, and the last hour of this movie is just one big long just brawl between Superman and Zod. And speaking of Zod, Michael Shannon, just fantastic casting as Zod. Let's see, Henry Cavill, perfect live-action Superman. I've personally never been that big of a fan of the Christopher Reeves films, but I will always say he was a good Superman, but not to make anyone mad, but I prefer Henry Cavill just a little bit. That's just the way I read Superman more in the comics, is through the sort of Henry Cavill sort of way. Like in what is it, Infinite Crisis, that's the sort of way I read Superman and everything, so you know. I just preferred him. He was just really good as Superman, not just Superman, but Clark Kent and everything. He made Superman relatable, at least for me and everything. Like, he wasn't just the Superman that everyone thinks of. He wasn't the Superman that people who don't like Superman think what Superman's like. If you don't know what I mean by that, everyone's like, oh, Superman's so unrelatable, he's invincible and everything, but no, Superman's relatable. He's one of the more relatable heroes, in my opinion, just ever. Amy Adams, Lois Lane, fantastic. She fits the role perfectly, and they didn't write her as one of those,
please, Superman, save me, I'm a damsel in distress.
No, she was awesome in this. She was one of those things where it's like, alright, I'm a reporter, I'm gonna do everything I can to get the, story I need, but it wasn't to the point where just like, you're stupid for ending up in that situation. No, it seemed pretty logical that she would end up in the situation that she's in. Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White, awesome. I don't remember who it is that plays the Kents, but they were really good in this film. Especially, I always forget Superman's dad's name. I'm horrible. I'm a horrible DC fan. You should all just help me with rocks. But anyways, yeah, they were fantastic. Russell Crowe's Jor-El was just awesome. And I love the fact that they went into the whole entire comic arc where they talked about Kryptonians, having, they don't decide their births and everything, like one of the versions of Krypton. It was like, we pre-decide what happens to everything, and how Jor-El was like, nope, screw that. It was just awesome and everything, and you could tell that Zack Snyder and David Goyer had a really specific vision. Now, I might do a more in-depth discussion of this, but for now, this is just my first thoughts. I would say this film is just awesome. I would give it a 9 out of 10. but there were some pacing issues. That's the only reason why I really don't give this a 10 out of 10. If you don't like pulpy 50s science fiction movies, you won't like this, but otherwise you really should like this. It's the best Superman movie ever, live action Superman movie.